Thanks for tuning in. It's the US Open men's final between Jannik Sinner of Italy and Taylor Fritz of the United States. And I'm just going to give you my preview and predictions. So let's have a look at some of the stats in the tournament so far. So Sinner has played 20 sets, Fritz has played 22. Sinner's played 178 games, Fritz 213. Average games per set 8.9 Sinner, 9.7 Fritz. Games conceded 63 Sinner, 86 Fritz. Games conceded percentage 35% Sinner, 40% Fritz. And the current live ranking, Sinner was number 1 coming into the tournament. He's still number 1 and he's going to be number 1 at the end of the tournament. Fritz, however, came in at number 12 and he's guaranteed to finish at least number 7. That's his current ranking at the moment because he's reached the final. And if he wins the final, he will leave the tournament ranked 6th in the world. And that incidentally also virtually secures him a place at this year's ATP finals. So quite a remarkable achievement there. So if you look at some of the previous matches, Sinner is finishing them off in 3 or 4 sets. He's not played any 5-setters at the moment. And yeah, mostly 3-setters, mostly straight set wins for Sinner, and a lot of 6-1s and 6-2s in there. So he is playing solid tennis. Fritz, on the other hand, hasn't been as plain sailing for him. However, he does have a lot of 6-1s and 6-2s as well. 6-3s. As the tournament has progressed from the 4th round onwards, he's played extra sets. The first 3 matches he only played 3 sets, and then he's played 4, 4 and 5. That was an epic match against Francis Tiafoe yesterday. So, but that doesn't necessarily mean he's going to be tired or worn out or anything like that. That could actually go in his favour because he's had more match time, he's had more time on the court, more time to adjust himself and get his strategy perfect, and and work on things and try things out. I mean, that final set against Francis 6-1 was quite a statement, really. Could have been a nervy one. It could have went on all night, so to come out of that 6-1 at the end there was something. That says a lot to me. So yeah, it should be a thrilling matchup. So let's have a look at some more advanced stats. So let's start off with aces. So Sinner's had 54 and Fritz is way out in front with 76 aces for this tournament. So he is a bit of an ace machine. Next we have double faults. Sinner's a lot tidier in that department. He's only had 13, so he's averaging 1 or 2 a match. Fritz, on the other hand, is up at 22, so he's averaging 3 to 4 a match. So he really needs to cut that down if he wants to win this final, in my opinion. He needs to cut out the double faults. However, if he is smashing the aces down, that will work in his favour as well, obviously. So I'm hoping that if he can knock the aces down as he's doing, and cut down on those double faults a little bit, yeah, he could walk away with this title. First serve percentage, Sinner's down at 58%, and Fritz is quite a little bit ahead at 67. Do you know what I mean? It's like nearly 10%, so that could play a part. Now the win on the first serve percentage would probably be more important. Sinner's at 78, Fritz 81, so they're pretty close there. Win on the second serve, again pretty close, 65 for Sinner and 63 for Fritz. However, I want to focus in on a couple of very striking stats on Fritz's side. Yesterday against Francis, he had a 97% first serve percentage. 97%, ladies and gentlemen. That is quite phenomenal. Whereas Sinner only had 65 against Draper. That was a thrilling match as well. That had everything. We had the Draper vomit, as I like to call it. But yeah, let's get back to this. So yeah, 97%, and also on the 4th round match, he had a 96% win on his second serve percentage. So 97% first serves in, which converted to 73% win on his first serve. But still, to get 97% of your first serves in, that says a lot. And I've never seen this before ever in stats on tennis. 0% win on second serve. Looks pretty depressing, doesn't it? Well, that's due to the fact that he had 97% first serves in. So there wasn't really many second serves Anyway, so if he can do that tomorrow against Sinner, he's got every chance of winning this tournament. I just want to check. So he's had 76, so he's averaging around 12 to 13 aces a match, and Sinner's averaging 9 aces a match. So he's definitely a wee bit better in that department. And yeah, so keep doing that, Taylor, and you can definitely win this. And first serve percentage 97%. You know what I mean? So yeah, I just feel he's not going to be. I don't think he's a very good rally player. I'm not going to deny that. Taylor Fritz can play rallies, and I've seen him come up with some remarkable shots and little chips over the net and all that, and running up to the net and things like that. He can do all that. He can match Sinner in that department, but I just feel Sinner probably might have the edge if it does go to a lot of rallies. Whereas Fritz needs to try and keep the points short, smash the aces down, serve and volley, 1-2, punch. You know, if he can do that, I think he can knock Sinner off the court. But if he lets rallies develop, I think Sinner will have his number. I just think Jannik is so good at those now, and he's developed that side of his game, and I think he's the best in the world at that at the moment. He's just a wee bit ahead of Fritz in that. But as I say, Fritz is still very good at that, so should be interesting. Let's have a look at break points. So break points, 34 out of 81 for Jannik over the tournament, and 26 out of 59 for Fritz. So Jannik's at around 42%, and Fritz is just above 45%. So not a lot in it there. Tie breaks, they've both had 3 each, and they've both won 3. So they're pretty good at their tie breaks, and yeah, they're neck and neck in that department. Receiving points won, 281 Sinner, 241 Fritz. Which means that Sinner is, in general, a better returner. You know, he's winning more of the points on the return. Which will go in his favour, obviously. Points won, 646 for Sinner and 665 for Fritz. Games won, 115 to 122. Not a lot in it. Maximum games won in a row, 9 for Sinner. So Sinner's won 9 games in a row. But that was in his very first match against a very low ranked player, 72 ranking in the world, the guy that he was up against. And Fritz also had 7 in a row. In his first 2 matches, he had 7 games in a row. So again, the rankings were 93 and 44. So not a lot to say there, really. I mean, it's pretty common stuff to come through your early matches pretty easily. Maximum points won in a row. That's probably the highest I've ever seen, 21. And that was in his first match, Sinner, against that same guy in the first round. And 10 for Fritz. I don't think there's going to be any 9 games in a row or 21 points in a row in this match. This will be a very close match, in my opinion. Service points won, 365 for Sinner, 424 for Fritz. And service games won, 78 for Sinner and 95 for Fritz. I think he's just played more games. That's really why his points are higher and his games are higher. He's because he's played more sets, he's played more games. So there's not a lot to say about that, really. And then the average opponent's rank so far in the tournament, 42 is the average rank that Sinner has played, and 51 is the average rank Fritz has played, and that's the rank when they came into the tournament. That's not their live rank. Okay, so when you put all that together, I would have to pick Sinner overall, but I am by no means ruling Taylor Fritz out. I don't think it's a complete one-way street. I don't think Sinner's going to bulldoze him, but he might just pip it. I think he just has enough. I think it's probably maybe 55-45, maybe even closer than that. I don't think it's going to be total domination by Sinner the way he's dominated some of his previous matches. And I do think Fritz has a chance to win it as well. I'm not going to rule him out. I'm not going to bet against him either. So, but if I was to pick, I would pick Sinner, just based on everything and based on the fact that he is the current world number 1, and based on his results in the last 18 months, winning the Australian Open, and just the way he's developed his game, he just seems very, very solid. However, Fritz has also improved a lot. I have noticed a big improvement in Taylor Fritz, and he's gaining confidence as the weeks go by, and he's developing strategies and style in his game, and he's fun to watch. He's a great player to watch. So I just want to read a few other little things. So Taylor Fritz will be the first American man to reach the US Open final since Andy Roddick in 2006. So that's 18 years gap. Incidentally, Roddick was the last American man to win the US Open way back in 2003. So that's 21 years since an American man has won the US Open. Now, since 2016, from 2016 to 2022, Fritz has only been making the first, second and third rounds of the US Open. In 2023 he stepped it up and he reached the quarterfinals, and then this year he now reaches the final for the first time. So he has been improving. Jannik Sinner, on the other hand, equally this is Sinner's first US Open final. Now his rise has been faster than Fritz, however, and also over just the last 5 years only. So he's went from first round to fourth round to quarterfinal to fourth round and now final. So it's great that an American is back in the final, and this is the US Open final, so America will obviously be wanting an American in the final. That's to be expected. And there has been a lot of media coverage on this. However, let's not forget, Sinner is the first Italian man ever to reach the US Open final. Okay? So forget the fact that Fritz is the first American in 18 years. Sinner is the first Italian ever, ladies and gentlemen. And there hasn't been a lot of talk about that. And if I'm not mistaken, Berrettini reached the semi-finals in 2019. That's been the best Italian result ever. And no Italian had done that before today. And Fabio Fognini, he only reached the fourth round in 2015. So Italy's not had a great results, historical results here. So Sinner is really putting Italy on the map here. He's doing remarkable things for Italian tennis. First ever to reach the final. And interestingly enough, in fact, in history, only one Italian, man or woman, has won the US Open. Before I give it away, can you tell me who that was? I'll give you 5 seconds. Well done to those of you who said it. It was Flavia Pennetta in 2015. And oddly enough, we had 2 Italians in the final that year. We rarely get Italians. We've never had Italians in the final, ever. Apart from that year, Flavia won it in 2015, and she played Roberta Vinci, her fellow Italian. And then this year, Sinner getting to the final in the men's side. And then Pennetta sadly retired from tennis just after that tournament at 33 years of age. But what a way to go out, eh? Winning the US Open. However, I don't think Jannik Sinner will be retiring after this tournament somehow. He is world number 1 and he's only 23. And look what he's achieved in the game so far. So he won't be going anywhere. He'll be around for a very long time. Now let's have a wee look at their head-to-head. I want to talk about their head-to-head. So very quickly again. So it's tied at 1-1. Both meetings, interestingly enough, were at Indian Wells, which is also an outdoor hard court like the US Open. Fritz won their first meeting in 2021, that's 6-4, 6-3, and then Sinner won their last meeting in 2023, 6-4, 4-6, 6-4. I have that actually on another page, I'll just chuck that up. So there we go, that's the last meeting results. However, those meetings, one of them was a round of 16 and one of them was a quarter-final. So they weren't finals. They've never met in a final. They've never met in a semi-final. They've never met in a... they have met in a quarter-final. One of them was a quarter-final. So they've never met in a semis or a final. This is their first final. So it's a completely different kettle of fish. Also, it's over 5 sets, not 3. It's a Grand Slam. It's Taylor Fritz's home slam. You know, there's a lot to play for. It's very, very different from Indian Wells. Although Indian Wells is Taylor Fritz's home as well, I suppose. So yeah, that's their head-to-head meetings. However, despite all of this, Fritz is ranked 12. Well, he came into this tournament ranked 12. His current live ranking is 7 and will be 6 if he wins it. But Sinner came into this tournament ranked 1 and he will remain ranked 1 no matter what. So this is where it all sort of, this is the big difference here in these players. And the reason he's won, number 1, is because of all the stuff that he's won in the last 12, 18 months. You know, he's been playing out of his skin, fantastic tennis. Fritz hasn't obviously been playing anywhere near as good as Sinner hasn't been getting the results Sinner's been getting, but Fritz has played okay, I suppose. And he's done well to get to where he is, but I just think Sinner is different class, really. And he's world number 1 for a reason. So phenomenal results he's had, and as I say, Australian Open this year. One thing that has surprised me though, that I just realised today, is that Sinner, as good as he is, and the fact that he's number 1 and how well he's been doing, Sinner, and it's not to knock Jannik Sinner in any way, I'm not being overcritical or anything, it's just an observation. Something I noticed today was that he only has 1 Grand Slam compared to Carlos Alcaraz, who has 4, and Carlos Alcaraz is 2 years younger, nearly 2 years younger. So they've both won 5 slams between them, but Sinner's only won 1 of the 5 and Carlos has won 4. So I was a wee bit surprised with that. For some reason it feels as if he's won more, or he should have won more. You know, I thought he maybe would have had at least 2. It just feels like he's won 2 for some reason. Anyway, he's only won 1, and this could be his second, and very likely will be. Interestingly, his Aussie Open record since 2022 was quarter-final, 4th round win. So that was Jannik Sinner's last 3 matches at the Australian Open, or his last 3 results at the Australian Open. 2022 quarter-final, 2023 4th round, 2024 win. And that is identical to his US Open historical records. 2022 quarter-final, 2023 4th round. So can he repeat that pattern? If he repeats that pattern, he's got the US Open trophy. I just pick up little things like this. I'm sad, I know. Other things. So Sinner will stay number 1 regardless of this final result. Fritz entered the US Open ranked 12, and he will now be number 7, reaching the final, and be number 6 if he wins it. And he's, as I said earlier, he will guarantee a place, virtually guaranteed, not guaranteed, but he's virtually secured a spot at this year's ATP Finals. So he's doing remarkably well. Now, these guys have never met, as I say, in a Grand Slam final. They've never met in a final, never met in a Grand Slam final, but they've never met in a Grand Slam final. And those Indian Wells matches they had back then, at that time Sinner was still really developing as a player. You know, he hadn't reached his full potential. But now he has. Anyway, imagine, the two of them must be feeling out of this world. Imagine having your first meeting at a Grand Slam final. So you've never played the guy before, and the first time you play him, you never played him at a Grand Slam before. So they've never met at a Grand Slam before, and the first time they meet at a Grand Slam is in a final. How wonderful must that be? And sadly, one of them is going to lose, obviously. There's always going to be a loser, sadly. But yeah, one of them is going to walk away with the trophy today. Their first meeting, and one of them is going to lift the big trophy. So that must be thrilling for them. So neither man has won the US Open, by the way. Neither of these men have ever won it, so they're going to be a first-time winner. And no Italian man has ever won the US Open. So I think there's more pressure on Jannik Sinner because of that. You know, this will be his first US Open, and he'll be the first Italian man to win it. So much history on the line here for Jannik Sinner. Quite a bit of history for Taylor Fritz as well, to be honest. I mean, and there is pressure as well, the fact that he's an American, so his home crowd will be egging him on, and you know, this is his first US Open final. He really wants to win this. You can tell. I'm sure he really wants it. Who wouldn't? And he is American as well, but that will add more pressure as well. And no Americans won it for 18 years, so there's a wee bit of pressure there. But I think there's more pressure just given the fact that it's his home slam and he's not won it yet, and pressure on Sinner's side, the fact that he's not won it, but he's also going to be the first Italian as well. So they've both got a little bit of pressure, and I think it's how each of them handles that pressure. And if they just go out and just play their game, just pretend it's like a first round match in a challenger event or whatever, or just any old minor event. Forget the fact that it's a Grand Slam final. They have to just try and get that out of their head and go out and play the tennis of their life, you know. And my advice for Taylor Fritz is, not that he needs my advice, is that he keeps smashing the aces down like he's been doing throughout the tournament. And if he repeats his first serve percentage like he did against Francis Tiafoe, yeah, do that 97%. Go one better, go 98% and smash the aces down and reduce the double faults. That's all he has to do, really. I don't think there's much else he needs to do. Oh yeah, and as I say, keep the rallies short. Try to keep the rallies as short as possible, because you're going to get tired eventually, especially if it goes to 5 sets. So yeah, that's my advice to Taylor Fritz. Sinner, what advice can I give this man? You know, he doesn't need anyone's advice. You know, he's number one. He just needs to keep doing what he's been doing, and he doesn't necessarily need to smash aces. He's not an ace machine like Taylor Fritz, but he still wins tennis matches, he still wins tennis tournaments. But he's a tidier player. Like, as I say, he doesn't give away a lot of free points. His double fault tally is really good, you know. He's probably the lowest in the tournament. But yeah, so if he just tightens up even more and even less double faults, like if he got 0 double faults in this match, then yeah, that's one box to tick, I suppose, and say, right, you're well on your way to victory if you can do that. You're not giving away silly points. But I feel that it's a final and there's a lot of pressure, there's a lot on the line, and so I feel that he will be giving a few double faults away this match, and I feel that Fritz will also be giving away a few. I don't mean to jinx the guys, but it'll be a nervy final and there will be double faults, I predict. But he has to just keep them down like he's been doing, and as I say, he's not an ace machine, but he's a great rally player. I mean, look at the way he runs around the court. He runs around the court, he dances around the court like a ballerina. And even when he trips and falls and twists his ankle or bends his wrist or whatever, he still manages to win points. You know what I mean? And he gets up and he's like a gladiator. He's like a gladiator in the Colosseum. And I only said that because he's Italian, so I'm a little bit biased there. But yeah, if you can think back in ancient times in the Colosseum when the gladiators used to fight, Sinner is one of those. He is a gladiator in my opinion. And that's why he's world number one in my opinion. So it's all to play for. I'm expecting an exciting match. I'm expecting a 5-set thriller. I think it should go to 5 sets. It deserves 5 sets. The players there's not a lot between them, so it should be 5 sets. I really think either man can win it. I don't think it's exactly 50-50, but I really think either could win it. But I'll just have to slightly give it to Sinner, I'm afraid. I just hope Taylor Fritz doesn't let nerves get the better of him like Francis did yesterday in the semis. As I say, Taylor just has to keep his head down and forget it's the final. Just play his natural game, you know. Just swing the arm and don't think about it too much. Don't think about the guy on the other side. Don't even think it's Jannik Sinner. Pretend it's somebody else. Pretend it's some ranked 200 player or something. Try not to let Jannik get in your head. And again, Jannik just has to do what he does. Just do his thing, and he should win it as well. So, yeah, hard to say really. But I'll go for Jannik Sinner. If I was to put money on this, I'd put money on Jannik Sinner. But don't rule Taylor Fritz out. So thanks for listening, guys, and I'll see you all soon. And enjoy the US Open final. Apologies, I made a little error in the previous slide. I left out Frances Tiafoe's ranking of 20, which means that the overall opponent's rank for Taylor Fritz in this tournament was 46, not 51. So it reduced it by 5, but it didn't really affect the overall differences. It's still 42, 46. I mean, there's not a lot in it really.